Welcome back. In this week's Tax Time, we're digging deeper into that report on a potential Biden proposal to up capital gains taxes as high as 40% for wealthier Americans here, as well as another tax battle that's brewing in the background when it comes to state and local taxes there, and efforts to potentially repeal that $10,000 cap. For more on that, I want to bring on our next guest here. Annette Nellen is San Jose State University professor and director of the MST Program. She joins us now. Annette, good to be chatting with you. I guess we'll start, before we jump into SALT, start on the capital gains front, because we saw stocks sell off on that report. What do you make of that historically when you think about increasing it for some wealthier Americans?
Well, it should be no surprise, because President Biden did campaign that he would increase the rate for those making more than $1 million to 39.6%, plus we already had a 3.8% tax on those high income capital gains, getting it to 43.4. That is high. I mean, we had the highest we've had since 1986 was 28%. And so that's a high rate. But I think they're tying it to, well, look at what the top rate is on earned income, not just capital gains.
What does this mean, you think, from a revenue standpoint? And we've kind of put this in context for us in terms of how many Americans likely to get hit. Of course, the figure, the number itself is really what's in question.
This would be less than 1% of individuals. If he keeps with his campaign promise, it would only be if you're making more than $1 million. Then you'd have a 39.6% capital gains. And we don't have a lot of details on that. Is it only when your capital gains exceed that? But we're talking about less than half of 1% of individuals would be seeing that.
Let's talk about something that might impact a little bit more than just that subset of wealthier Americans, which of course would be the take on state and local taxes there. In the Trump tax reform piece of that, capped it at about $10,000, the deduction there, but potentially exploring Democrats' goals to change that. So what should people know about SALT deductions and how it might impact things when it comes to taxes moving forward?
Well, that does date back to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act under the Trump administration, enacted 2017, where when you itemize, you can only deduct up to $10,000 of state and local taxes, whether you're single or married. And that, along with increasing the standard deduction, means that far fewer individuals itemize or claim any state tax deduction.
So if there is a repeal, who is that likely to benefit the most?
Well, prior to Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, I think we forget that only 30% of individuals even itemized their deduction. So they're the only ones that even potentially get that deduction. But then we had the alternative minimum tax, which then limited that state deduction for a lot of middle income individuals who itemized. The bulk of the benefit of restoring the full state tax deduction is clearly to the top 1%. And even within that 1%, about half the benefit will go to the 10%, the top 10% of that top 1%.
Annette Nellen, San Jose State University professor and director of the MST program. It's good to get some of your insight today. Appreciate your time.